Hello, welcome everyone. Today we are going to start the Awesomeness of You series. I should introduce myself for those of you that are new. I'm Becky Hills and I'm your Floodgate coach and counselor and the creator of the Awesomeness of You series. And a little bit about what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about what it means to really know who you are. In order to be able to live your awesome, you need to know what that awesome actually is and who you are. And so as we're going through the material today, you'll notice there is a link for the homework file that you can download. So you'll want to get on there and grab the homework so that you can follow along. It'll have the highlights from what we're talking about over the next 3 days, as well as some homework to help you along and help you to develop your own sense of your own awesomeness as we go. We're going to kind of get into things. Today we're really going to be talking about what it really means to embrace your awesomeness. Every single one of us is born with awesome already inside of us. We are born in the image of God, and He has placed in us something that is beautiful and wonderful and awesome. And it's up to us to take the time to learn about ourselves and know about ourselves in order to really start to see that awesome. And so let's talk for a minute, just what does it mean to be awesome? And you'll see if you have the lesson plan and the homework assignments, there is a list of a bunch of different words that also mean awesome. The word awesome basically means to inspire awe or admiration or wonder. But awesome isn't necessarily the right word for everyone, and it's absolutely okay if you want to pick a different word that fits better for how you see yourself. So I just wanted to kind of go through a few of these words because I think that they really do help us to understand what it really means to be awesome. Other words might be things like amazing. That might be a better fit for you. Or extraordinary or marvelous, fantastic. I love some of these words. Beautiful, good, magnificent. I like that one. Of course, probably the most fun word of all is the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. How much more fun can you get than that word? And so just starting to think in terms of what does it mean to be awesome, right? And so this idea of learning how to be awesome, I want to kind of back that up a little bit because really when we learn how to be awesome, really what we're saying is I am comfortable in my own skin. I am comfortable being me. I am comfortable and I am proud of who I am and who I am becoming. And really what it is when we become awesome and we learn how to live and walk in our awesomeness, we've also become resilient. And in order to become resilient, we need to have that good, strong foundation underneath of us. And so that foundation is this idea of meaning. And so I want to talk about meaning for a minute before we go too far. And so this foundation of meaning to create resilience being the ability to keep moving onward, even in the face of suffering. So meaning starts to lay that foundation. We learn what's important to us. We're able to say, okay, what does my life mean as an individual? We're able to say, what does life mean in the grand scheme in terms of looking at the human life in general, right? And so this idea is of being resilient in the hard times. I come to what the Apostle Paul said in Romans 5:3-5. He says, we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us to develop endurance. And endurance develops strength and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. And this hope will not lead to disappointment. So when we look at that, what we're really seeing is that problems in life are developing us into the people that we need to be. They are not something that we need to fear, but we need to stay the course. We need to endure, because when we learn how to endure the difficult times, that ability to endure develops our character, and that character is what makes us awesome. And that character is what gives us strength. And it's that strength And hope that is really what we're developing. We're developing hope because of the difficult times. And so when you start to see how this kind of flows, this is not a new concept. We hear about this idea of suffering with meaning and learning how to suffer and rise above the suffering, or to turn your trials into triumphs. These sorts of ideas is exactly what Paul was talking about 2,000 years ago. And other writers, other philosophers, people who were considered wise in different cultures have all kind of said similar sort of things, is that we need to develop that sense of endurance. And so this becomes the premise of the model of meaning that I have created to help people understand. And you'll find that in your homework package. And I'm just going to hold it up for you so you can see kind of this little picture that I've created. And what that's explaining is this idea of meaning being a foundation. The first layer of that foundation is faith. And so whatever your faith beliefs are, those things are going to really become the root for each of the pillars that sit on it. And so whether you're somebody who's coming from a Christian perspective like I am, or whether you're coming from another faith background, or if you're somebody who has no faith background at all, you still have faith in something. Whether that be God, or whether that be the universal sort of power that people might talk about, whether it's just having faith in yourself, having faith in humanity, those kind of core beliefs, those ideas that we hold that dictate how we live our lives, those things are at the root. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about faith here. And so the first pillar is this idea of who am I? It's self-definition. It is this idea of how do I define myself? How am I different from my neighbor? How am I different from other people? Also, how am I the same as others? And so that's that first pillar, is just figuring out who am I. The second is this idea of belonging. We need to have a sense of belonging. It's super important for our development and for our sense of self when we know where we belong. And so when you begin to understand who you are, then you can begin to start carrying that forward into where am I going to find those people and those places where I feel like I'm connected. That place where you feel like you are not just connected, but that you really have that belonging, like you are part of something, a group, a tribe, a family, that really tight-knit sort of place that you can be. And when we find that place, it's that place where we can actually really truly be our authentic selves. That part that you're learning in that first pillar, to be authentic and be that real person that you are, we carry that forward then into how do we be with others? How do we be ourselves fully in connection with others? So that's that second pillar. And the third pillar then is, what is my meaning and purpose? So what is the greater call on my life? Or what is this bigger piece that I need to be doing, right? So it's first we have knowing ourselves, then we have knowing ourselves and being in connection with others. And the third is taking that one step further to how do we then spread ourselves out into the world in a way that makes the world a better place. That's your purpose. That's your calling. And so that's that third pillar. And together those three things create this really beautiful foundation of resilience. That's what the Apostle Paul was talking about when he was talking about being able to suffer and with endurance. That's the resilience that we want to have, because when you have all of those three pieces in line, they create the foundation. If there's cracks in that foundation, then it makes it difficult to withstand the storms of life that come along. And you'll see in that pictograph there, sitting on top of that is the house. The house represents our life. And the house is where we build the life that we want to create for ourselves. It has to be sitting on that strong foundation, or when the storms of life come, we fall. Right? Many of us may know that story of the wise and foolish builder. There's the wise builder who wanted to go and build his house, and he found this nice, strong, solid rock to build his house on. And that's like the foundation that I'm talking about here. And when you build on a rock and the storms come, the foundation stays firm and the house stays standing. When you build your house on the sand, like the foolish builder did, the storms come and it erodes the foundation out from underneath. And next thing you know, your house has fallen flat. So if you're somebody like me who does not want to have to keep starting over and rebuilding their house over and over and over again, and you want to be able to build a life that's strong and resilient, you need to create the strong foundation underneath you. And so this is basically the premise of everything that I teach in all of my programs. And so there's a quote from Dr. Paul Wong. He is a doctor of psychology out of Toronto. He's also comes from a pastoral background. One of the quotes from him, this is what he said at a conference that I attended with him recently. And he said, "To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in it." So when we're going through the difficult times, when we're going through the suffering, we need to find, what is the meaning in this situation? How is it going to help me grow? How am I going to take this and turn it around? How am I going to take this trial and turn it into a triumph? That is up for us to do. Nobody can do it for us. You have to do it for yourself. And so this is about creating that meaningful life. And when we have a life that is meaningful and filled with lots of meaning, we're seeking to make that contribution in the world. And that meaningful life then is built on that's built on the foundation of meaning. It's going to be strong. It's going to be resilient. It's going to be confident, right? If you want more confidence, you have to have the foundation. If you want to be connected to others, you have to have the good foundation. If you want to feel fulfilled and satisfied in life, it's going to be meaningful. You're going to have a sense of purpose. It's hopeful and it's perseverant. These are all the things that go along with having a meaningful life. And so when the storms in life come then, those are the suffering and adversities. Just like in the natural world, we have no way to stop the storm from coming, but we have ways that we can be prepared for the storm. We have ways that we can make sure that our house is not going to fall because the storm comes. The storms are inevitable, just like suffering in life. We are all going to go through difficult times. We're all going to go through hardship. We're all going to go through days where we say, I just don't even want to get up today. It's just so bad. And that's okay, because that is normal. And even when we don't want to get up, when we have meaning, that gives us a reason to get up. And so this is what we're working on here. Dr. Viktor Frankl said, "He who knows the why for his existence will be able to bear almost any how." And I think that this is a really good quote here, because what he's saying is, when you get up every morning and you know what your reason is, when you know what your why is, then that motivates you to get up, get going, work on your purpose, even in the face of storms, even when it's difficult, even when there's roadblocks, even when there's things that get in the way, even when you don't feel like it, it gives you the motivation to keep going. And so how do we develop this sense of awesome? How do we develop this meaningful, fulfilled life? And so the first step is, as I was explaining before, it is knowing who you are. So it's knowing your awesomeness, who you are, how you came to be this person that you are today. Second step is learning to love and accept the person that you are, being able to treat yourself with love and respect, taking care of yourself, taking good care, self-care. So this is the loving your awesomeness. Quite often I've heard people that talk about self-care, and they feel like when they are trying to take care of themselves that they're being selfish. And this is a point that I want to make sure that we're really clear, is self-love is not selfish. It's not a selfish love that we're talking about. We're talking about the love that honors and cares and respects the self and says, I need this, and this is what I'm going to do to make sure that I am well. When we're not taking care of ourselves, we burn out and then we can't help others. And so we have to take the time. And it is helpful to other people when we take time to take care of ourselves. And this is that part of the loving yourself and accepting yourself that's so important here. The third step is finding the place where your awesomeness belongs. That is that connecting with others. It's that awesomeness of connection. We want to be connected to other people because that's a human need that we have inside of us. When we're connected to other people in a good and positive and wonderful way, then that also frees us up more to be ourselves, right? You know, I talk about this idea of being yourself, and by being yourself, you're being awesome. The connections and that place of belonging gives you the freedom to really be that and to live that out in your everyday life. Step 4 is deciding how to use your awesomeness. So you are awesome and you have gifts and you have talents. And how are you going to use those awesome gifts and talents to take that into the world? What are the hopes and dreams that are inside of you? What are the things that you value in life? This is all part of figuring out how are you going to carry your awesomeness beyond yourself and into the lives of others and into the greater world. Step 5 is identifying and removing the barriers that are keeping you from all of your awesomeness. Most of the time, we have these barriers that get in the way. They're usually things that we've put in the way ourselves. There are our own fears, those things that keep us from doing the things that we know that we should be doing because we're afraid, we lack the confidence. Maybe there's some physical disabilities. Maybe there's some different other things in the environment around you that are stopping you from being able to do what you want to do and the things that you know that you need to do. So when we want to open this floodgate to your potential, it's like imagine like this floodgate opening and the water flowing, right? That's your potential. And you are the one that is holding yourself back most of the time. So figuring out what's in the way. Do you need to work around something? What do you need to do to be able to be all of the awesomeness that you are supposed to be?